time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. At this time, I will ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. I recognize the good senator from the 28th, the Rules Chairman, for the reading of the journal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, on February 1st, 2023, we have one wonderful page that is joining us today. We have Reed Black. Let's read in. Reed, thank you for your service today. And on this day in history in 1790, our U.S. Supreme Court convened for the very first time. Today is also Candy Making Day. Today is National Freedom Day. It's National Signing Day, National Girls and Women in Sports Day, and it's Dark Chocolate Day.
All right.
So a lot of great days out there today, and I know everybody's got your probate judges up here today, so make sure and say hello to them. But Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for all that information you provide to us every day, but also recognizing the pages. That's probably the most important thing you said today, so appreciate that. Is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is dispensed. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, the journal is confirmed. Before we do a reading and resolutions, I'd like to recognize a good friend of mine, a former United States Senator, Senator Kelly Loeffler. Senator Kelly Loeffler, y'all give her a round of applause for her service to the country and everything. Senator, would you like to say something? Senator has been a great public servant for the state of Georgia and for our country. She's a great friend, and she is very much involved in not just political organizations, but also charitable organizations. Her and her husband are great citizens to the state of Georgia, and we appreciate everything they do for individuals and families all around the state. And would you like to say a few words, Senator? Come on.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. What an honor to be here with all of you. So just a few words I wanted to share this morning. So Lieutenant Governor Jones, Majority Leader Gooch, President Pro Tem Kennedy, Minority Leader Butler, it is such an honor to be here. I'm humbled to spend a few moments with you. When I was in Washington, D.C., I had the chance to address my Senate colleagues many times. And when I spoke with our colleagues, I would share with them that they were the voice for people back home. And in fact, that was my farewell message when I left Washington 2 years ago. And it struck me as I was preparing for today, this is a message that you already know, this body knows. You come to work every day understanding that you are the voice for your constituents. And so it's really exciting to know that what's happening here in Georgia is working. And just 1 week ago, across the hall, Governor Kemp delivered remarks that gave us a great update on our state. $13 billion already in economic development this fiscal year, $17 billion in rural health care, expanded money for education, more access to affordable health care, a focus on public safety. And he said that the state of our state has never been stronger or more resilient, and he's right. And he's right because of your work. This could not be done without this body, without the people in this building, and without all of our constitutional officers. So I'm just really grateful that you're here rolling up your sleeves, being that voice for Georgians from Bainbridge all the way up to Blue Ridge, from Camden County to Catoosa County. Your work is making a huge difference. And that's in stark contrast to Washington. I have worked in Washington. I see that contrast. And I'm really grateful for the strong conservative leadership of Governor Kemp, of Lieutenant Governor Jones. He's going to do an incredible job for y'all. I'm really excited to see that. And for each of you, I thank you for doing the work that you do every day. You make a sacrifice. Your families make a sacrifice, and it's not trivial. And your commitment to our state is consequential because you're changing everyday lives in Georgia. So I want to recognize that. And really, this is not about, my work is not about me. It's dedicated to the work you do in our state and making sure that more voices are heard. So I just want to thank you for this incredible honor. It's very humbling. May God bless you and your families, and may God bless your work, and may God bless Georgia. Thank you so much.
All right. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk. This first reading and references the Senate bills and resolutions. Secretary.
Senate Bill 56 by Senators Huffstedler of the 52nd and Williams of the 25th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 relating to ad valorem taxation so as to require the State Revenue Commissioner. Senate Bill 57 by Senators Hickman of the 4th and others, a bill to amend Title 50 relating to state government so as to authorize and provide for the regulation and taxation of sports betting in this state, to provide for additional powers and duties.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 58 by Senators Hickman of the 4th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 relating to elementary and secondary education so as to repeal certain provisions for alternative charter schools, to provide for related matters, to provide.
Education and Youth.
Senate Bill 59 by Senators Hatchett of the 50th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 12 of Title 45 relating to the governor so as to establish the office
Judiciary.
of the. Senate Bill 60 by Senators Hatchett of the 50th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 14 of Chapter 1 of Title 10 relating to secondary metals recyclers so as to provide that it shall be illegal for certain persons to purchase.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 61 by Senator Stickerland of the 17th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 34-110 relating to use of sick leave for care of immediate family members so as to repeal the sunset provision relating to such sick
Insurance
leave.
and Labor.
Senate Bill 62 by Senators Summers of the 13th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations so as to prohibit certain local ordinances.
State and Local Government General.
Senate Bill 63 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 17 relating to bonds and recognizances.
Public Safety.
Thank you. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Corrections. Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Assignments has had under consideration the following appointment to the Judicial Qualifications Commission. Mr. Dax Eric Lopez, appointed by the Supreme Court of Georgia, and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation: that the appointment be confirmed as submitted. Respectfully submitted, the Honorable Burt Jones, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Resolution 32 by Senator Harbison of the 15th and others. Attorney General negotiate with the state of Alabama terms of a reciprocal immunity agreement for officials urge. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Majority Leader, Senator from the 51st.
Good morning. I'd like to excuse the senator from Habersham County, District 50, for business outside the Capitol, and the majority whip, District number 29, is working inside the Capitol. Be back soon. And thank you, sir.
They are the senator from the 50th and the 29th without objection are excused. Senator from the 33rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 5th and the 38th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senators from the 5th and 38th are excused. Senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator for the 36th for business inside of the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from 36 is excused. Secretary will call the roll of senators. Please signify your presence by voting yea. Switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease audible conversation. I would ask that doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. I'd like to recognize our friend from the 16th district. He has the chaplain of the day, and I believe this is about his third chaplain he's brought down here. He always claims this is his favorite chaplain, so be careful about that, preacher. But welcome I'd like to welcome the 16th senator to our pledge and our introduction of chaplain. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I need all the help I can get from above and around, so that's what we do. Let's say our pledge, if we will, to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our state flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Courage. Well, good morning. I am excited to have Pastor Josh Sethko with us. He is the pastor of Flat Creek Baptist Church, which is my home church now, and have had the privilege of working with him over the last 4 or 5 years. Just found him very involved in our county on a local basis on issues that just really, he was not just in the church, he was outside the church, which I think is a part of what we ought to be in that respect. He is also the president of the Georgia Baptist Convention, represents 1.4 million Baptists across the state of Georgia. He is married to his wife Kelsey and has 2 daughters, and has been a great friend and just someone that I can go to. But I think you will be blessed with his words, and just ask Pastor Josh, would you come speak with us, please?
in his favorite pastor in Fayette County. Friends, it is so good to see you. Mr. President, thank you for this honor. Senators, it's always a joy, a privilege, and I mean this, an honor to serve in this way. I'm so grateful for you. I recently, within the last 48 hours, got back from Ecuador on a missions trip, and I'm just very grateful for what we have here in our country, and you're part of what makes it go. And I want you to know sincerely, when I saw the first Chick-fil-A, I had a spiritual encounter with Jesus. You know what I mean if you've been in foreign missions and you get back and you see God's bird in the sky right there. You just have a moment of rejoicing. And there's a phrase and there's a scene in the scriptures that keeps coming to my mind that I want to encourage your hearts with this morning. It's actually a kind of a unique scene when I think about what is the secret of greatness. What is the secret of greatness? Senators, those in the gallery, what is the secret of greatness? If we were to ask Wall Street, I'm pretty sure they would tell me it's money and a whole lot of it. If I were to turn my eyes to Washington, D.C. and say, what is the secret of greatness? I'm sure there are many who would say it's political clout. Oh, if we went over there to Hollywood, California and asked, what is the secret of greatness? I'm pretty sure they would say it's fame. But today, this morning, we turn our eyes to the lovely Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the very unique Son of God. And we turn our eyes to Him and we ask Him, what is the secret of greatness? And it's that unique scene in Matthew 20 that I keep going to where Salome interjects herself into this moment with Jesus and asks that her sons, James and John, would be at the right hand and left hand of Jesus, that He would remember them and that they would be on thrones with Jesus. Not knowing what she was asking, she was thinking of an earthly throne. She was thinking that her sons would drink from this golden goblet of royalty, not thinking about suffering, not thinking about her two sons, one, James, being the first martyr in Christendom, not thinking about her other son, John, who would be put on the island of Patmos and suffer all the days of his life. Oh, she didn't know what she was asking, but what is the secret of greatness? Jesus says this, whoever wants to become great among you, he must be a servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give His life a ransom for many. Friends, if the very unique Son of God came not to be served, He came to serve. How much more do you and I need to have that in mind in preparation as we go through our day, as we go through this session? I stand before you today and humbly submit to you, let us have the mind of a servant. Let us not be the ones who try to lead with a stick, but let us lead with a towel. Let us lead by serving one another as Christ, the Son of God, who left in the stairway of stars and came down into this planet. Can you think about that just for a moment? The Son of Man coming to this planet. I can just picture those angels saying, Jesus, don't go down there. They don't know what they're going to do to you. As He came down that stairway of stairs, friends, can you just imagine those stars saying, Jesus, don't go down there. But yet down the stairway of stars He came. Out of the ivory palaces into the world of woe. It was love that made our Savior go. Why did He come all the way to this earth? Why did He come and be obedient unto death, accomplishing the salvation for all of us? Why? Because He demonstrated His love for us, that yet while we're sinners, Christ died for us. Friends, today, as we go about our business, let us be mindful that we are a servant most of all. And I'd rather on the final day of accounting not be concerned with the Lord said to me, well done, thou good and faithful preacher. No, I don't want that. What is the secret of greatness? Well done, thou good and faithful legislator. No, I don't want that. He said, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into thy joy of rest. Those words I want to hear. Would you bow with me in prayer? Father, thank you for the Lord Jesus Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. That he purchased our salvation on a bloody cross, and he rose victorious 3 days later. God, thank you that you're resurrected, that you're alive, that you hear our prayers. And so we come boldly into your throne of grace. And Lord, I come. And I ask for these legislators. I ask for these wonderful servants that you've appointed as leaders. God, I pray that we would go about and do your business today. Lord, you've told us if we lack of wisdom, to ask of you, and you'll give it to us liberally. So pour your wisdom upon this chamber. Pour your wisdom upon our lieutenant governor and upon our senators. For it's in the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
We have some special guests with us today. Secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 16 by Senators Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others. A resolution recognizing the 49th anniversary of the Consulate General of Japan in Atlanta and for other purposes. Whereas the Consulate General of Japan in Atlanta has strengthened the cultural, political, and economic ties between the Southeast United States and Japan. And whereas a long and steady friendship has grown between Georgia and Japan, as shown by the establishment of the Office of the State of Georgia in Japan 49 years ago. And whereas the Japanese community has thrived together with all other communities to make Georgia greater, and whereas current trade between Georgia and Japan is nearly $8 billion in import and export trade, and whereas there are nearly 660 Japanese affiliated offices now located in Georgia, employing more than 40,000 people. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize the 49th anniversary of the Consulate General of Japan in Atlanta and the long and steady friendship between this state and Japan, and commend the efforts of the Consulate General to strengthen cultural, educational, political, and economic ties between Georgia and Japan. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call on my friend from the senator from the 32nd to introduce our special guest today, and it's always an honor to have her friends from her district, especially people who have done so much to contribute to the state of Georgia. Senator?
Good morning, colleagues. We have some very special guests with us this morning from the Japanese consulate, and I'll introduce them in a minute. But you may notice the image that's behind me up on the screen. And what that is the peace bell for the relationship between Japan and the United States that is now at the Carter Center. That was just completed this year. And if you haven't been to the Carter Center lately, I'd encourage you to go and see the beautiful peace bell. We have a long-standing relationship with the country of Japan. I would guess that almost everybody in this room has Japanese companies in your district. And I would encourage you to get to know those companies and to introduce them around your district, because they add a lot of value to the state of Georgia over a long period of time, spanning about 50 years. For those of you who have been to Japan, you know that there are a lot of unique things about the country of Japan. I particularly like Kit Kats, but the people of Japan are the thing that really makes that country special, and we greatly value our relationship. We have a new Consul General, and I'd like to introduce him. This is Consul General Maeda. Where are you? Right here. And his staff. And you may also, some of you recognize that we've now let another former House member onto the floor of the Senate, Tom Taylor. He's back there. And so we're glad that he's helping us with our relationship with the country of Japan. So with that, I'd like to introduce Consul General Maeda to make a few remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be in this historic building, historic chamber of the state capital today with you. I'd like to first express my sincere gratitude to Georgia-Japan Caucus, Senate Caucus co-chair, Senator Kirkpatrick and Senator Hallel, as well as the co-sponsors, Majority Leader Gooch, President Pro Tem Kennedy, and Senator Beach, along with those who sponsored the resolution and all other members of the Senate of Georgia. Three weeks ago, the Prime Minister Kishida and President Biden reaffirmed in Washington, D.C. that our cooperation today is unprecedented, rooted in our shared value of shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific and peaceful and prosperous world. guided by the shared vision, shared values of including the rule of law. I'm glad this relationship is also the strategic partnership that is critical in this rapidly changing world. I'm very glad to say that the relationship between Japan and Georgia is also unprecedented today, with building upon a long history of friendship. In 1973, the state of Georgia established its trade office in Japan, and two prominent Japanese companies started their operations in this beach state. 1 year later, the government of Japan decided to open its consulate general office here in Atlanta. Today, more than 600 Japanese affiliated companies and offices are active in this state and employ more than 40,000 Georgians. I would like to thank the people of Georgia for their continued and strong support to their activities. It is no wonder why the state of Georgia has been named in 9 consecutive years as the #1 state for business in this country. But our relationship is not limited to the economic field. Many students are now studying Japanese, and lots of Georgians have been engaged in Japanese cultural activities. Japan Fest, the largest Japanese festival in the Southeast, was held in person last September for the first time in 3 years and attracted more than 18,000 people. Well, Senator Kirkpatrick mentioned about this Peace Bell Tower, and I just want to explain a bit about this. The bell itself was originally molded for one temple in Hiroshima in 1820. But somehow, after the twists and turns, it was donated to President and Mrs. Carter in 1980s. It was the bell itself had been left unhung for decades at the Carter Center, but the combined effort of Japanese and Americans led to the construction of this bell tower in the traditional Japanese style. And now we can strike this bell, this historic bell again, and we can enjoy the solemn sound. I think that this episode perfectly represents the strong and friendly ties between Japan and Georgia. So, senators, our relationship is unprecedented, but I think that we have a lot of rooms to explore more. So as the Consul General of Japan in Atlanta, I commit myself to continue working hard to deepen and expand the friendly relationship and partnership between Japan and Georgia. And I'm looking forward to work closely cooperating with you all for our shared, mutually prosperous future. Thank you very much for your attention and friendship and hospitality.
Good job. Appreciate you being here. We have another special guest, our Doctor of the Day here today, and I'd like to call on our friend from the 22nd, beautiful Augusta, Georgia, to introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to introduce Sharad Gamandi, who's a professor and chair of the Department of Gynecology and Obstetrics at Augusta University Health. Thank you, Mr. President. At Augusta University Health and Medical College of Georgia. Our state medical college is located in Augusta, Georgia. He is a world-renowned gynecological oncologist, serving as the Associate Director at the Georgia Cancer Center at Augusta University. He is a member of the NCI Committee for Cervical Cancer and also serves as President for Georgia Society of Clinical Oncology. Dr. Gamandi has been heavily involved in clinical trials for over 18 years, and he is also an inductee in the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Society. Although he's extremely busy with his duties at the Georgia Cancer Center, he finds time to make sure he enjoys his spare time with his family. It is my honor to introduce our Doctor of the Day, Dr. Sharad Gamandi. Thank you.
Thank you. 68,000 new cancers in Georgia every year, 18,500 deaths which are cancer-related every year, most of them disproportionately affecting African Americans. We are one of the 14 sites in the country with a minority NCORP grant through the NCI looking to get clinical trials out to rural Georgia and community hospitals where patients don't have to travel long distances to see us and make a difference. Less than 5% of patients in clinical trials are minorities, and over the last 8 years in Augusta, our enrollment is 45%. This grant would not be possible without your support. All of you, with the support that you give us for our infrastructure, enables us to actually apply for federal grants and make that money go a long way. So I want to thank all of you on behalf of all those grateful patients from the bottom of my heart for your support. Thank you very, very much. And go Dogs.
Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 34th. Come on down.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I rise this morning, one, to get your attention, and two, to remind you that tomorrow you must wear red. Tomorrow is Wear Red on February 2nd, and as a heart attack survivor of now 20 years, I want to remind you all that heart disease is the #1 killer, and we must take care of ourselves, especially us ladies who try to be all that and some, and we do it well. But we must make sure that we are here to take care of everybody else by taking care of ourselves first. Now, guys, find your red tie. Make sure you wear a red something on tomorrow to acknowledge Go Red for Women. you will find on your desk a reminder that Go Red Day is tomorrow, and you should have a pen that looks like this one, and I would love for you if you would wear it. But make sure that you don't forget to wear your red tie, and if you don't have a red tie and you want to borrow one of my red dresses, just let me know. I don't mind sharing for this very special day to remind all of us how important health care is to everyone, but heart disease being the #1 killer is so important. So join me on tomorrow and wear red. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Senator from the 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last year, we lost a true treasure in this Capitol building with Miss Kathleen Comiskey. Almost everyone here has a special story of meeting with her, talking with her, or serving together with her. No one more so than our distinguished Appropriations Chairman, the Senator from the 19th, who not only worked with her each and every day, but I think literally became a part of his family. After the incident happened, we convened a group of people here at the Capitol, and I want to thank the Georgia State Patrol, members of the Atlanta Fire Department, Police Department, 911, and Grady EMS to come together to figure out how we could handle emergencies in this building better than we did in the past. One of the first things we had to do was update the way an ambulance, fire truck can get to the Capitol building with roads being closed off and different access in order to get stretchers and other items in and out of the building. Second thing we had to do is to make sure that the radio communications understood who would be responding and how each one of us could play a role in doing that. The third part is several of us in this body are now on a alert that have medical training, or first responders, doctors, and or nurses. So if we are in the building, we can also be of good help. But I specifically want to thank Senator from the 19th as well as Representative McCollum on the other side and the Senator from the 45th and others who have played a part in now having Grady EMS, have an EMT and paramedic here on site while we are in legislative session. We actually had an incident already where we needed extra emergency care. And we hope that they are not needed that often, because everyone is healthy and safe, but it is also good to know that, again, we're working as partners in order to keep each and every member, constituent, or other folks that are down here willing to talk to us and be a part of this government process to be safe and secure. Now, I know we had a couple of folks in the audience from Grady up in the gallery. I'm not sure if they're still here. They are. Would you please give them a round of applause? Thank you. God bless you. And I yield the will, Mr. President.
Recognize the Senator from the 18th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Just want to remind folks that we've got our probate judges that are here in the Capitol today. They play a very important role as a part of our judiciary. Your constituents back home and your family members may interface with them most often on the probating of a will or issuance of other licenses, but they play a very important role in the services they provide for folks back home, and they're here today. And I want to thank the probate judges for what they do for the state of Georgia and what they do for their constituencies as well. And they've got a lunch that they would like to provide for us down in 216. So they're going to provide lunch for us today in 216. I hope you'll consider going down there to say hello, enjoy lunch, and tell them that you appreciate what they do for our constituents. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator, for reminding everybody about our good probate judges here today. So, and I would recommend everybody go down and see your probate judges because they interact with a lot of your constituents. So it's good to know them. Senator from the 8th, would you like to rise on point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to remind all my colleagues in the chamber today that we're having the Lowndes County Bird Supper this afternoon from 5 to 7 at the Freight Depot. We're going to have some fried quail. You know, it's something that our community's been excited to host since the 1950s. So I hope you all will join us and look forward to seeing you there. Mr. President, I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. My friends, I just rise today just to let you know, you've all got mailers on this, but I just want to make sure and come up here and invite you today is Murray on the Hill Day. So come down to the Freight Depot today from 4 to 7. We're going to have Murray on the Hill and the Bird Supper going on at the same time. So come by and see us. And then just to tell you a little bit about Murray County, it's so rich in Cherokee history. If you've never been to Murray County, I would invite you to come up and visit the Chief Van House. And just all the rich history that Murray County has to offer. And also while you're there, I would tell you to visit the Cohutta Wilderness. It's literally the best kept secret in Georgia, but Cohutta Wilderness Murray County is the doorway to the Cohutta Wilderness. And it's literally just the most beautiful place on the face of the earth. And I just encourage you to come up and visit us anytime. But today, 4 to 7 at the Freight Depot, we'd love to have you come by and join us. And look forward to seeing all of you there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator, and I look forward to seeing the Murray County Day today. That'd be a good one. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Senator from the 14th, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I rise to object to the inclusion of Senate Resolution 65 on the consent calendar.
Senator has objected to Senate Resolution 65. If it obliges the senator, I will set that aside and adopt the remaining resolutions, and then you speak to your objection.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the adoption of the remaining resolutions on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution number 65 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a resolution recognizing and commending the work and achievements of Greater Georgia Action Incorporated, as well as its chairwoman, former United States Senator Kelly Loeffler. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator, would you'd like to speak to your objection?
Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to address the body briefly on my objection, just to explain it. First and foremost, I'm honored to be here. This is my first time addressing you as my colleagues from the well. Truly is the honor of a lifetime, and I've really enjoyed getting to know everybody in the chamber so far. It's in the spirit of that collegiality that has been impressed upon me that I make this objection. You know, coming in this chamber, I came from the House, and you know, some of the senators in here remember I was vocal in the House, sometimes annoying in the House. But what I always tried to do was tell the truth about how I felt about something. I tried to give my honest opinion, my honest belief, and I tried not to play games. I know we all play games, but I really tried not to play games. What it was impressed upon me, I don't know if y'all seen Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams is hugging Matt Damon and he's crying and he says, "It's okay, it's okay. It's not your fault." You know, it's not the House anymore. This is the Senate. There's fewer of us. There's opportunities for real collegiality that maybe weren't quite as possible over there. And I'm accepting and acknowledging that. In that spirit, I believe that this resolution does not belong on the unanimous consent calendar. It's going to pass, and it's fully within the purview of the majority to pass it. But it's not something that me or many of my colleagues want to sign our names to. Of course, we worry about consequences. First question anybody's going to ask is, if you object to one of our resolutions, don't you think we're going to object to yours? Don't you think we're going to kill yours? And I guess I'm just going to make an appeal to principle. I'll read this directly from the Greater Georgia website. They want to register and engage more voters, and the way that they describe this task is, we know that millions of voting age residents are still not registered to vote, many of whom support the conservative values. And then they say, by identifying and engaging these conservative-leaning Georgians and registering them to vote. And then they proceed with the rest of their mission statement. Democrats like voter registration. We have organizations that do the same thing. We register voters too. But this organization does unquestionably explicitly identify its goals as to register conservative voters. In that way, it is part of the game. It is part of the game that we all play, the electoral game. And while it is fully appropriate, in my view, for members of the majority to stand in these locations and to tout the values of a former U.S. Senator, who, by the way, I stood and clapped for to respect the office, and to tout the values of an organization that has partisan aims, my very simple objection to you this morning is that I do not feel that that is appropriate for a unanimous consent calendar. And what I would hope is that if we have resolutions that do not similarly participate in the game, Democratic resolutions that are not partisan or seek to employ partisan aims, that the majority would treat those resolutions with the same principles and collegiality that I will hold myself to when taking every vote in this chamber. So with the utmost respect, Mr. President, I object. I yield the well.
Senator is yielded as well, and the senator is entitled to his opinion, and we appreciate that voice and opinion. We will properly vet this thing in the rules. SR 65, we'll put it in our rules committee, and we will have it properly vetted. But we do want, if there's anytime there's objection, there's always, the Senate is different. We let every voice be heard. Moving on, are there any other motions to withdraw or commit? We are now moving on to the rules calendar. SB 11, Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 11 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to general provisions concerning the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, so as to provide for concurrent jurisdiction by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in cases involving the identification, investigation, arrest, and prosecution of an individual or groups of individuals for violation of state laws concerning domestic, cyber, biological, chemical, and nuclear terrorism. The Senate Committee on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, John Albers of the 56th. The Senate Public Safety Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 11. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions concerning the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from 56 to speak to the bill.
Good morning again, colleagues. I'm proud to present to you Senate Bill 11, which is Georgia Fights Terrorism Act. This bill simply allows the Georgia Bureau of Investigation the ability to proactively, either independently or with our other agencies, both local and federal, to go after and investigate crimes relating to terrorism, nuclear, biological, chemical, cyber, and domestic. Thanks to the great work in the past by the senator from the 46, back in 2017, Georgia has some of the strongest terrorism laws in all 50 states, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our folks safe. A bit of history, this Senate body, with bipartisan support, passed an anti-gang legislation bill last year, and this was a part of that bill. It made it through all of our committees here, all the committees in the House, and unfortunately missed the final goal line in sine die. So this is just bringing that back, separating it into a couple of different bills to make sure we keep people safe. And I know that this body stands firmly behind our law enforcement and our GBI here in the state of Georgia. If there are no questions, I will yield the will.
There are no questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor signify by saying yea, opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machines. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49 and nays are 3. This having received the requisite constitutional majority, passed by substitute. Congratulations, Senator. You passed the first bill of this session. So. Secretary, I recognize the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February the 2nd.
Secretary, read the announcements.
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. The Public Safety Committee will meet at 1 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. The Joint House and Senate Georgia Farmers Market and Produce Terminal Development Authority meeting will meet at 1 p.m. in Mezzanine 1 of the Capitol. The Joint Education and Youth Committee and Higher Education Committee meeting will meet at 2 p.m. in 307 CLOB. The Economic Development and Tourism Committee will meet at 2 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. The Insurance and Labor Committee meeting will meet at 2 p.m. in Mezzanine 1 of the Capitol. The Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 3 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. And the Finance Committee meeting is canceled. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Are there any additional announcements? The majority has moved that the Senate stand adjourned to February 2nd, 2023 at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. We are adjourned.